Today I'm going to be gluing down some cork roadbed all along the front and in the back. It's going to meet there. So let's get started. Today on Model Railroading with Bill Masters. So it appears that this type of roadbed right now, at this particular moment in time, is hard to buy. Doesn't really seem to be anybody selling it online. I don't know if, so this I bought from Midwest Products, and I happen to have a lot of it. So I'm good to go, really probably for my whole layout. But I've been thinking about ways that you could actually probably make it yourself. You know, all this is cork. Yeah, all you got to do is buy a sheet of cork and cut it, and it looks like about 3/4, maybe an inch. Cut it in strips like that, and if you really wanted to, you could probably cut that angle as well. But yeah, I am not going to go that route, but because I have roadbed. But if you wanted to make it, I think it would be pretty easy to do. Yeah, you know, and I've been thinking about, you know, there's lots of ways that you can make a lot of the things that you buy for model railroading, and that's one of the ways, you know, that you can really get the prices down in model railroading is just make it, you know, make everything. I'm in a transitional phase with my layout now where I'm going to start making some more of my own things instead of buying kits. If I can possibly build it myself and make it, I am sure going to try, unless, of course, I already have plenty of it, you know, like this cork roadbed, but also something you could make easily. Yeah, kind of a little side issue I've been thinking about for a while there, how to get costs down in model railroading. That, you know, that's one of the biggest hurdles that people face when they get into model railroading is, you know, the cost. And yes, we all are aware of that. You know, there's some Facebook pages that even I've seen specific rules is, you know, not to talk about the cost of model railroading. You know, I guess it deters newcomers, you know, but I don't know. If newcomers, you know, you just teach them to build it themselves. That's part of this hobby, you know. Your layout is something you built. You know, why not take it a little further and just build more? You know, what hurry are you in? You know, this is gonna last the rest. This hobby is, you know, for the rest of your life. Really, what do you need to finish your layout next week? Why? You know, just take your time, and you're not gonna run out of things to do. You know, a lot of this I inherited from my grandfather too. So some of this stuff I didn't buy, like that building in the back there, and that building on the end, the blue bank building, whatever it is. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna start taking some things off my layout so that I can start laying down cork. All right, the way I'm gonna do this is I'm going to take some push pins and kind of tack down the track where I want it to go, just roughly, and then I'm gonna outline it. So I've got my flex track here. This Y turnout here is going to be my central point where I'm going to base everything from. So I got to get it situated so that that is in the right spot before I can get the track down. So I kind of looked at this before and realized that the Y kind of needs to come pretty far to the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and tap that down. Now I'm a little concerned with this radius here. I've got it about as wide as I could possibly make it, that turn. So I got this little ruler here set up. I'm gonna see what an 18-inch radius would actually be like. So it seems to follow the contours of an 18-inch radius. If that's the case, and 18 seems to follow. So that looks like it's about an 18-inch radius. So I think I'll get away with it. I mean, of course, the train is entering a downtown area. It's not going to be flying, you know. So, all right, I've got these marked out, or at least the track position where it's going to go. I'm going to continue on that way. I'm going to have to move the camera for you. I've got my yardstick here to make sure my track is aligned straight in the front. Now, of course, when you do this, you want to make sure your modules are perfectly aligned. Now, I'm coming up to a turnout here, and so I'm also out of track. But I might actually have to see if I can find a turnout with a bigger radius. Let me see if I got one. For some unknown reason, all I seem to have are right turnouts, and I need a left turnout. And the only other left turnout I have is exactly the same as this one. So I'll have to make this work. If I have to, I will cut this back. It's kind of looking like that's what I will have to do. Unless I put the turnout further back. Which, you know, that does make sense. Yeah, that is what I need to do. So I'll put it as far back as I can, and that'll give me more room. So that's what I'll do. All right, I've got traced around all of the track that I put down, and so now I'll go ahead and pull that track up, and what will be left will be the outline that I traced. And then we have the course of the track, bottom and top runs. I do have minimal areas where I need to work on my sculptor mold, because it didn't quite work out as I thought it was going to. So there, and along the side. So basically this area here. Just to prevent tightening that radius too much, ended up putting that a little close to the edge, so I need to sculpt the mold back a little bit and maybe carve that mountain just slightly. So the next part is going to be to put down this road bed. This stuff, you tear it apart in the middle, and then you end up with the two strips. You put one strip down at a time. That helps you get around curves and stuff. And then the slanted edge goes to the outside. I'll be hitting that next. All right, well, it's been a few days since I left off on this part right here. Got a little sick. I had to take a week off and recuperate. But I'm gonna hit it again tonight. I took my rasp and I kind of evened it out, leveled it out right here, because when I had put this down, it was an even slope, and I don't want my train going on a slope like that. So I took a rasp to it, leveled it, and then took some more paint over the top of it, and then so that is now a lot more level, and should take the cork road bed a little better. All right, now there were a couple of points that I needed to fine tune right there. Needed to kind of extend that out a little bit, because it was wanting to go over the edge. And then the last part was right there. I need to let this dry before I can proceed. And when I come back, we'll start putting down some cork. All right, I'm gonna start gluing down some road bed. Also just gonna focus on this center module in the interest of keeping this video shorter. And then at the end, I'll show you the whole thing. Let's get started. All right, so I'm not sure I was recording. I put down some glue along here. Spread it out. So now I'm gonna take and just pin down this road bed. going to use a lot of thumbtacks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go this way with it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry, and then I'm also gonna do these other two modules, that one and that one, off camera. And when I get back, it should all be done. All right, so there we are. And I also did up here. Now, I'll let this dry for about 24 hours. Tomorrow, I'll take those thumbtacks off. And I'll check it, so do some post leveling. I'll take a yardstick to it and look for any dips and humps and try to sand them down. See, ideally, you want to start with a level surface to begin with. And I did check my surface with my yardstick before I did my cork. But when you're doing it this way, yeah, it's kind of hard to, it's not like putting cork down on a piece of flat extruded foam or a plywood. You know, you're working with sculptor mold that you troweled on with a painter's knife. So I did know that I was going to have some post leveling to do, but it is important to do that step, and we will do. I mean, if you do it this way, then yeah, you're going to have some post leveling to do. So that's up next. All right. Well, I did something that, well, it's not absolutely necessary to do. And most people won't. It's just something I like to do. So as you can see, I just went over my road bed with just some plain old plaster of Paris. I just coated it, and I'm gonna let it dry. Then I'll paint it. Now, see, the thing is, that road bed is going to be covered with ballasting. You know, so most of it, you know, won't be seen. But I like to do this for a couple of reasons. Because of the way I prepare my surface, you know, with sculptor mold. I'm not getting a completely flat surface before I put down my cork. And so I can sand my cork, you know, and get it relatively flat. But in some areas, I need to kind of build it up, maybe a HO scale foot. And so that's where the plaster of Paris comes in. Now, so the plaster of Paris, I put across, I spread out on top of the road bed, and then took my yardstick here and just, you know, made sure that it was minimal light, you know, underneath, so that it's I know it's flat. And yeah, that's just the way I do it. This also gave me an opportunity to go through and define my roads a little more with ballasting, with the road bed in place. The roads need to be defined raised up a little bit, of course. Now, when I put my track down, that means they're gonna have to come up, yet again, and then I'll be putting another layer on top of that. But this whole thing has been a gradual process of building up, shaping, and so I'm liking it. And now I got a clear definition of where my track is gonna be and where the road is gonna go in conjunction with the train station platform. And so now that part I wanted to do ahead of time. Of course, I can't paint it yet because it's still wet, obviously. So I need to go over it with a fine sandpaper over the ballast part first before I can paint it. And before I do that, I need to let it dry. That's going to be a good 24 hours. I'm going to just wait 24 hours. Probably take more like 6 hours or so, but no hurry, because I am going to do this part on camera. So you can see what I was doing. I wanted to do that part so you can get an idea of what I'm about to do before I do it, because it's pretty, unorthodox. Not most people won't do this, but I do. All right. So now let me just show you this. Look at all that I had to sand off of there to make it level. Yeah. So you want to start out with a flat surface, but you can see how the cork roadbed, if you're really bad at it like me, can be your second chance. And now you can see that I do have one small area right there that I'm going to fill in with plaster. The rest is pretty good. Now it does start to sag a little bit right here where that bridge is that I reclaimed from another layout. So that's another little spot where I'm gonna have to build up with the plaster, and then it's really level up. And so yeah, for the most part, just that spot and that spot I need to fill in. So I'll take the vacuum cleaner and get rid of all that dust. And you know what? I have this other vacuum cleaner that I use specifically, just for retrieving grass, static grass. So it keeps it clean and allows me to reuse it. I think I might save this cork. It looks like a pretty good ground cover, and there's a lot of it. So a little more down there, but yeah. All right, so that's where I am. Check this out. This is a little 3-inch. It's called a 3-inch portable vacuum, and it's advertised as a car vac, which I think would make a lousy car vacuum cleaner, but great for this. Look at this. And it retrieves it nicely in there. So there's the bagless bag that it puts it in, and I can just put that into a jar, reuse it. It's got no other contaminations in there other than what was laying on the layout. And there we go. Got all that cork collected, and it's nice and clean. I can use that as ground cover somewhere. All right, so I went over that. It's all level. A little hard to see because it's all white right now, but of course the modules are pulled apart, but that bridge will meet up right there, and so there we go. Again, gonna let that dry. I will sand it, paint it tomorrow. Now this module actually isn't bad at all. When I took my ruler to it, I just found some dips, and I'll just be able to spackle that in real easily, and you can really kind of see it too in the camera. And right there. So yeah, it won't take much at all. I don't even need to sand that. It makes more sense just to fill it in. I will sand it right here where it's kind of just to smooth it out a little bit, and then I'll take and coat it with the plaster of Paris, just like I did all that. Oh, so using that felt pen was kind of the dumbest thing I did today, but that's okay. I'll be painting over it anyway, and ballasting over it. Note to self, no felt pens when plastering. All right, I've done everything except for this little run right here. This is the front of the layout, the town section. Town goes there. All right, so basically here's what I've been doing. Now, I'm using my yardstick to look for high spots, and you can see there's one right here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my sanding block and just start sanding it. This is a pretty heavy grit. Okay, I'll just keep checking it. So there becomes a point when sanding it isn't going to get all the gaps out anymore. What I'm going to really do is try to sand it until this end is completely flat. And this is going to be a spot where I'm going to have to fill in. And keep going. Okay, that looks good. Now, I learned my lesson on the other section, not to use a felt pen. I should have known better. So I'm gonna mark my low spots with a piece of tape. Okay, that looks good. So I'm just gonna continue around. And I think the only other spot that I'm gonna need to sand is really probably right here, which makes sense because that's where I put in a culvert. And it's also nice because I can lower this section over the top of the culvert and look more realistic. I want to go overboard. Okay. Yeah, that actually did it. So, yeah, most of this really wasn't all that bad for doing it the way I did, you know, just with the painter's knife. I got mostly pretty level. There were some spots that were amazingly bad that I had to fix, but for the most part, it was not bad. This is the only part that I'm gonna need to fill in. The rest is just gonna be skim coating it, just to blend it in. So I'll take care of that. Let me mix up some plaster. Actually, I have a little plaster right here, and it's getting pretty stiff. I made too much. I would have liked to have cleaned all that dust off first before I did this, but oh well, what's done is done. Now this is pure plaster of Paris, so it doesn't behave quite the same as sculpture mold. It's, yeah, I can't get any more out of this. It's not as forgiving when you're spreading it out. It tends to be a little more sticky. And if you get a piece of dried plaster in there, it's just it'll make a big long mark all the way across. Now, one thing to think about, and I'll do this on camera. This is actually a road too, so I'm gonna need to build this up with sculpture mold. So I am actually gonna have to come back to that too. But let me continue on. Let me make some more plaster. I just need a very little amount of plaster because I'm just gonna do this area right here. All right, got some more plaster here. This is just DAP, plaster of Paris. All right, now I'm just trying to spread it out. I'm gonna smooth it out with my hands. Okay, now this is the road. So I've got some more plaster left over. I made too much, so I'm gonna use it up here. This here is also a road. Now, when it gets too hard to work with, what you can do is dip your hands in a little water, and then you can work with it some more. Right, I'm gonna let this set up a little bit, and I'm gonna go mix up some sculpture mold to fill in the road here. Yeah, so let me go mix some sculpture mold up. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna fill this in. Put the road here. And then I still have this space for my building. Okay, yeah, I need more sculpting. Okay, all of the cork is now plastered over, level. That's the important part. And, ready to receive paint. That is after it dries. And there's the upper track. And as I finished the section, I ended up having some extra plaster and sculpting mold left over and stuff. So I just deposited it back there as I went. That was an area that was kind of unfinished and still is, but it was a good place for me to put it. Yeah, I cannot paint until I can't paint this portion, the top of it, where the track's gonna go, until it's completely dry. And we're talking completely dry. But I can actually paint the sides of it, the sculpting mold everywhere. That stuff is fine to paint, a little wet. In fact, it's actually a little better to paint it a little bit wet. Otherwise the paint just seeps right into the sculpting mold. So I will just go ahead and do that, leaving, of course, the top of the track. And then I'll come back and I'll show you that portion when it's finished. And the top of the track, when I sand that down, that's gonna have to be another video. Kind of up against time constraints here. Gotta get this edited and posted so that it'll be released in time. I won't have time to let that dry completely. But anyway, all right, enough babbling. Let me get out the paint. I'll paint the areas that I can, and then I'll come back, show you, and then we'll close out this video. All right, so the intention of this first coat of paint was just to make it easier to see the road bed. And I feel like that accomplishes it with just this one brown coat. So I'm not gonna get carried away and do the rest. I will wait for that to dry so I can sand it, and then I'll paint it right. So here we go. A little bit different than most people do it, but it's all part of a process. And I now have a very level road bed. I'm not gonna have to worry about any dips and inclines, making it decouple. You do it if you want to do it this way. Yeah, a little bit of extra work, but I feel like I get a pretty good result. There we go. All right, I'm gonna call this the end of this video, and we'll work on finishing that at another time. Okay. Have a good morning.